Right, so problem number one is PTFE, putting it on in the wrong way, putting it on the wrong way round so it comes off the thread when you're tightening up something onto it, but also doing it with the spool the wrong way round, which means it's less efficient, you can end up with more waste, and you often end up with your arms about this far apart as well. So let's have a look at the problem. Firstly, if you put it the wrong way round, which is actually this way on this thread, let's just pop it on like that and just take that off for a sec. What we've done here is we've put the PTFE on so it's going this way round. Now, when we put something onto this thread, the bit that we're going to be doing up is going to go on top like that and do up. Now, in some circumstances, this can result with the PTFE actually being pulled out, and I think you can actually see it happening a little bit. This little bit under here is actually showing that it's happening under there at the moment. What we want to do to get over this problem is to say, right, which way round is something going to screw onto this? And if we put it on there like that, we know that this wants to turn that way. So guess what, which way our PTFE wants to go? You've guessed it, it wants to go that way as well. The other thing that I see people do is they set their PTFE up like this. Now I want you to look closely because I know you're far away. You need to be far away because you're going to see how far apart my arms get. So every time we put one reel on, oh, look, we're now further away. One more reel. Oh my God, I'm even further away. Another reel. I'm even further away. It's not good, is it? What we're going to do, if we do that, we're going to waste PTFE. It's slow, it's inefficient, and it's wasteful. And remember, in our current green world, we don't want to be wasteful. The thing you want to do is this. You have the spool. Always think about this until it starts to become a part of your brain. Okay, the spool hangs down like so, away from you, with the hanging part away from you. The opposite way round to how you'd normally have a toilet roll. Whoever hangs it has it hanging that way. This, the piece you're about to thread, will go on here like so, yeah? And then what you'll do, and just watch this really quickly, you'll go like this. There's one turn. Oh, sorry. There's one turn. There's another turn. Wow. And then watch me do it really quickly. Another one, and 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 another one, yeah? Usually for a fitting, any sort of standard fitting, you want a minimum of 6 turns, something like that on there. The great thing about doing it like this is not only do we don't ever end up with our arms far apart, but we also don't end up with wastage. And another thing is we can pull the PTFE slightly tighter, just a nice sort of firm pull onto the thread so it goes into that thread nicely. And when we snap it off, we can just twist it in with our thumbs like so. And then guess what? Look at that. We'll get an absolutely beautiful watertight seal with our PTFE like so. Right then, problem number 2, and it also is a bit the old PTFE world. This one is for DIYers who found a leak on a compression fitting and they think, wow, I need to fix that leak. I've seen someone use PTFE before, let's have a go at fixing the leak. And you know, that's noble, well done for giving it a try. But I'm afraid a lot of you are getting it wrong for one simple little reason. So let's just whack this little beast into here. And you see it leaking out of this little nut here, and you think, wow, I need to put some PTFE around that thread, that'll fix the leak. So this is what people do, and I'm afraid this is wrong, but it doesn't matter. Let's see what is wrong. And in fact, you know what? I've got another fitting in here that someone's done it to in my box in the past. So this has happened on that fitting that I've stripped out and kept in my box for use at a later date. So what they do, they've got this bit of pipe here leaking, they've slackened back the nut. And what they do, they get their PTFE and rightly or wrongly, they put it around the thread. Rightly or wrongly, they put it around the thread. I'm afraid to say it's wrongly. They pop that on there like so, and then they do up the nut again like that. And it's like, mate, you've done absolutely nothing there. And you see a little bit of splodged PTFE around the outside of it. But don't worry, okay? You can take this nut back. And if you want to fix this compression fitting properly, you'd pop this back just a little bit like so, and you can use PTFE to fix these. You can pop them back just like that, get a little bit in, look, just run it through, pinch it with your thumb, pop it on there like so, and get it so it's on the olive. Once you've got it on the olive, pull it off, and now you get, if we just took that away, you'd be able to see that our watertight seal happens here on the olive and within the taper here of the joint itself. You can push that in there like so, pop that on there. That will fix the leak. While we're looking at this, we can move on quickly to number 3 because it's very simple and would negate the need usually for a bit of PTFE tape in the first place. And that is people not using jointing compound on compression fittings. Sorry, I had to do a little burp there. What is be jointing compound, man? Because I had forgotten to turn on my microphone, having found my jointing compound, I'm now going to have to do a voiceover for you. So, the main thing you should do... Oh, I can't be asked. So most people don't use jointing compound on compression fittings unless they're doing this job professionally because they don't want to spend the money on it. But believe me, a jointing compounded fitting will not leak, and that could save you a lot of money in the first place. You need to make sure that you buy the right jointing compound for the water supply that you're going to be using it on, and make sure you mix it up nicely as well. What I mean as well by that water supply is it for potable or non-potable water? If it's on a water supply you're going to be drinking, make sure you buy the relevant jointing compound to go on there. Application's really easy. You can smear it on with your fingers, or you can ruin a lovely Wearer screwdriver like I'm doing here. It's also really handy to get a little bit of jointing compound on the back of the olive of a compression fitting because it allows the nut and also the olive to slip nicely, and you'll get a nice even tight fitting that you won't need to over tighten to get a watertight seal. You can, of course, do cock-up number 4, which is over-tightening a compression fitting. Everyone should know, once you've got to that sort of stage of tightening, this could probably do the little bit more of a nip-up now, but you can nip it up to then. That just feels like nice, firm... I'm trying to sort of describe what it could be, but it's a nice, smooth, firm feeling. Then you'll know, you're like, right, that's done. But you could just keep on going, can't you? You can just keep on tightening. Tightening... and tightening and tightening until your backhoes start to spread. Keep on tightening, baby, like that, and you'll end up with one or two things happening. You'll end up with the olive coming out the back of the nut, which you don't want. You'll have the olive over crushing the pipe, which means if you ever need to strip it down, you'll have to cut the olive out. It won't just sort of work its way off with a nice set of grips. You could damage the fitting itself. What I would say is this: tighten everything up so it's got that nice, smooth, firm, tight feeling. Then turn out all the water on, fill the system up or fill up whatever you're working on, and then if it leaks, just nip it. I call it a nip because all it's going to be is just this little... like literally that. And you can see there already how damaged that nut is and everything because of what we've just done to it. So number 4 is do not over tighten your fitting. All right, let's get our cut on. Oh, everything's great. We've drained it out. We know it's all drained out. Oh, wicked. I love life so much. And then we get through. And we're on that lovely new white carpet that we've just fitted. Oh no, what's going on? Ah, yeah? God, it's just got water in my eye. So now you understand why you should always make sure that that is drained down before you cut it. It's obvious, isn't it, when you think about it? Let's move on to problem number 6. Flexible hoses. Sometimes we have to use them, okay? They're not the best thing ever. I think they're called speedways in the States, I can't remember. But, you know, sometimes they get us out of problems. So this is just a brief one. Don't kink these hoses. Please don't kink these hoses. I'll say it one more time. Don't kink them. And if you accidentally do kink them, yeah, and you really bend them up, don't try to unkink them with a set of grips or by trying to press them with your fingers. It's not going to happen. Now, this isn't quite long enough for me to demonstrate what I'd usually do with one of these, but you can, most of the time, get one of these hoses to actually go round in a circle if you've got quite a tight bit of pipe work. But what I'd always recommend is, if you're fitting one of these, is that they are almost at exactly the right length. If not, the length is about ½ an inch shorter, so they literally do that, okay? We don't want them going like that, we don't want that, we just, at the very most, want that when it comes to flexible pipes on plumbing. Now, our next one, real simple, lots of noobs do this, even seasoned plumbers do this. It is going to involve a little tool like this, but you can use wire wool for this, and it's not cleaning copper pipe before we solder it. Our solder relies on us having a nice proper bit of clean pipe. This is what I want your pipe to look like when you're doing the soldering, so you don't make this mistake. So we do not want it looking like this. This is really dirty. And you imagine putting on a nice new solder fitting on there, but imagine putting a nice little solder fitting on that. That is not going to solder up at all. Even Flux is going to struggle to clean this lot off. So we need to use a mechanical way of cleaning this down. So what we can do is we can just pop this on like so. That is now incredibly clean. Anything could go onto the end of that, and that'd solder up just nice. So make sure you clean your pipe down. Look how clean that is. Another thing I'd say as well is to make sure you clean your fittings, even if they're brand new. Make sure you give them a nice little clean out as well. Like I said, you can also use old school wire wool to clean your fittings down if you like. It's no big deal, just make sure you do it. Right, so we're nearly at the end of the video, guys. The last one you are going to love, because even like seasoned plumbers do this. Even I do this. Get out. But before we get to that one, this is a really, really common problem. And it is, see if you can guess what it is. I'm going to fill this up with water, and then I'm going to get my blowtorch out. Oh, if I can get the water in there. Of course, this is like me down the local pub after a couple of beers. Missing out as the old urinal, isn't it? So it's full of water. We've got a fitting that we want to solder in just there. And say we've got a fitting that we want to sweat off, or we've got a little bit, we're at the bottom part of a joint, we've just cut it off, and we've still got some water just sat here, and we've got a fitting on top of that we want to get off. Well, I tell you now, if you can get that to sweat and solder up while there's water in there, then you are a god, because there ain't no way you're going to do it, believe me. We do this now. And look, you'll start to see in a second, water's going to start coming out the top. As water's expanding, we're effectively boiling the water in that pipe. But what is that water actually doing? And let me chase it up. This is a little trick I'll sometimes do to get rid of it. I'll chase it up like that and try and chase it out. Look at that. Yep. What is all that steam and hot water doing when we're heating up a pipe or a fitting to do some soldering on? You've guessed it, it's taking heat away from that. It's a sink of heat that we're never going to be able to control or get rid of unless we get rid of the water itself. So you must make sure that the water in the pipe is completely gone before you do any of this work. If you are a seasoned plumber, you will know lots of little tricks to do this. Sometimes we will use a wet vac to pop over the top of the pipe and vacuum all the water out. Sometimes I'll use my little drill pump that you've seen in other videos on Plumberparts' channel.
And sometimes we'll use gluten-free rosemary and sea salt with olive sourdough bread to stuff into the pipe as well.
Sometimes I'll use a little drill pump that I've used in other videos on this channel, and it's not for no reason whatsoever that I've got this little bit of hose just stuck on here ready for me to pop on the end of a bit of pipe and blow down it to try and blow water out of another area to bring the overall level down, so then I can solder on it. Believe me, if I let the water out of this pipe now and pop something on there, we'd be able to solder onto that straight away. So that is massively important. Make sure that all the water is out. If you've got a torch that's on a fitting that you're trying to sweat off, or you're trying to do a bit of soldering and you've waited a little while, and every time you keep tapping on the solder onto the fitting, it keeps just coming off, you've probably got water somewhere in the pipe work. Take everything down, make sure it's not there, make sure the water's gone before you continue. Cool, big scrub. Okay, very quick one here, and it's plunger related. Come down and have a look at this, okay? So you're about to do some plungy-wungy, yeah? And you want to stand back, Emily, with that camera, I'll tell you. The thing is, what a lot of people will do is they'll let the water into the sink, they'll let some through, and then they'll plunge like mad, and they'll do nothing. You're doing nothing at the moment because you're not covering this hole up. So if you, oh God, that does honk a little bit actually. Maybe I should give this a plunge. If I covered the hole up, then I would be exerting pressure up and down on this. So usually what I do is I'd get something like this, and you don't have to, it doesn't have to be a full-on seal, but now you cover that up, let that out, and now you get your plunger over. And now you're actually definitely doing some sort of bits and bobs on there to get that out. Another reason you cover it up is because if you push that plunger, you'll get a wet crotch if you don't sometimes, and you haven't covered that hole up. Reminds me of a time when me and my dad went to do a job. There were 4 urinals in this place, and I was at one end and I pushed on the plunger on the urinal. It's honestly the sort of work you don't ever want to do, because urinals, if you've ever had Kendall mint cake, you'll know what I mean. But all the water from the urinal next to the one my old man was stood at, the water and all the yellow wee-wees and everything went all over him. I don't think I've ever laughed so much on my apprenticeship. It was really funny. So finally, the last one is cross-threading, or not recognising the difference in a thread. Firstly, the way to avoid cross-threading, or the way you know it's happened, is the fitting that you've got on top is just like that. Everything's going up in a sort of scraunchy, horrible way, and also you're not getting a seal, and everything is not straight through. It's just slightly sort of on the cock, just like that, okay? And that's not what we want. We don't want that at all. So the way to avoid cross-threading is this. Say you think you've got it started, or you're just about to get started. Now, I'm going to hold this right next to my microphone because I want you to actually hear this. So you actually push these two together, and we're going to undo it until we hear a click. As soon as we hear that click, we know that our two ends of the thread have just slipped off. Now we can go back up again. Listen, just listen. There you go, did you hear that click? Let's do it one more time so you can hear it again. That click there, and now you can do up. Let's see that click again. You're pushing these two together at the moment. There's the click. Now you can do that up and know that it's okay. The other thing you should always consider and always be on the lookout for are different thread sizes. You're more likely to find it on 22mm in the UK, especially on something like this. If you look on here, that is a much finer thread than what you're going to get on a standard 22mm compression fitting. So there we go, that's our standard sort of thread there for 22mm on this one here. And then look, you can see the difference. See how much finer that thread, this one here, is compared to that. So keep an eye out for that. So there we go. I understand that probably some of you thought this is a little bit clickbaity, but with any luck, if you're young, an apprentice, and you're watching this video, it's the start of the year and you're thinking about becoming a plumber, some of these little tips and tricks might stand you in good stead going forward if you become an apprentice. If you are currently an apprentice, you've probably done this yourself. I know I have. All of these mistakes I have made, and there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. Mistakes and getting things wrong and failing are the only ways you'll learn anything in your life. No one learned anything by getting everything right the first time. You only learn by mistakes. Right, we're going to test out Emily's glide cam technique now. So, I hope you enjoyed this video today, everybody. I hope you had a great time. Oh, Emily, she's on the move. We're going to get dizzy. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed today's video, guys. I hope that's given you a bit of an idea of the things that you can and can't get wrong in plumbing. Some of them are very simple, but I see it happen all the time, these sorts of issues, especially the last one. Like I said, even I get that one wrong. Some of them along the way, some of you sort of seasoned DIYers and plumbers are probably tut and roll your eyes, but we've all made these mistakes. So let's learn from them, move forward with the year. It's going to be a good one, guys. And remember to hold tight. WhatsApp's probably going to be the place as well that I'll share all the behind the scenes stuff. So what I'll probably do over the next few days, some of you this will probably matter to, probably most of you this won't matter because most of you are behind the scenes members already. But we'll keep the